Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Globe Summit. So excited to have you all here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Emily Sherrio. I am the head of content for the B-Side. Do we have any B-Side subscribers in the audience? Oh my God, so many hands. I love to see that. Okay. But for those of you who don't know, B-Side is a weekday newsletter from Boston Globe Media for young Bostonians. We tell you everything you need to know about the day from Beacon Hill to Bennifer, all in the voice of your informed friend. And I think what's really cool about the B-Side is we're a newsletter and social brand from the Globe that walks and talks like an influencer, which is exactly what this conversation is about today. So I'm going to do another hand-raising exercise. How many of you follow a content creator or an influencer online? Are you sure? I'm seeing a lot of hands. How many of you have ever bought something, or shall we say, been influenced to do something or go somewhere because of somebody online? Also seeing a lot of hands. Well, this is all a part of the broader creator economy. So from Instagram to Substack newsletters, analysts say that economy is worth around $250 billion a year, B with a billion, and that's expected to double by 2027. The side hustles of the beauty gurus that you used to watch in the 2010s on YouTube, those are now empires. And this goes beyond just the beauty and the lifestyle space. We're seeing Mayor Wu court influencers with the recent Content Creator Summit. Some of these people on this panel were at that summit, which we'll get into. We're seeing journalists create their own Substacks. The Washington Post TikTok guy, Dave Jorgensen, has since left the Washington Post to start his own venture. And I think the lesson in all of this today, and something we're going to dig into, is attention is capital. And so how do we wield that power in 2025? And so today I'm joined by 3 of Boston's biggest follows. To my left, we have Brian Ruiz. He's really a jack of all trades. He's the brains behind the beloved Corners of Boston account. He's a photographer and a social media consultant for other local businesses that are looking to tell their stories online. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Shearer, I'm sure who many of you know. He is an award-winning journalist at WBZ in Boston, known for his wacky, wild, and heartwarming stories showcasing some of the hidden corners of Massachusetts and beyond. And then at the end, we have Kate Bergman. She is the brains behind the Bucket List Boston Instagram account. It has over 200,000 followers, highlighting hidden corners of Boston and fabulous things to do around the city. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
So I want to throw this question to everybody, since all of you kind of operate in different spaces. And Brian, why don't we start with you? You're all influencers, but how would you define an influencer in 2025? What does it mean to have influence?
I think you touched on, when you asked the audience to raise their hand, on what they saw online, if they were interested in what they saw, and then they book a trip or they bought a product. I feel people who genuinely give their honest opinion, whether it's good or bad, that really influences people, I feel, is the true, authentic opinion on it.
Absolutely.
From my perspective.
No, absolutely. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, it's funny because I think the term influencer it feels like a new term, but influencers have been around long before social media. I mean, I think about the industry that I work in, which has been around for hundreds of years, which is radio, where radio personalities were some of the first influencers, where local companies or brands would hire somebody to read a spot on the air because they know that that is a person with an audience who cares about them and trusts them and is going to go out and react. So influencer is really just a marketing term for anyone with an audience who might want to do a little promotion of some sort.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I think about news anchors. You had an affinity for your news station based on the people who were telling you the news.
Yeah, exactly. And not even just a hired actor who does a commercial, that's an influencer too. So, I know people the influencer world, that's a whole new thing. But that's just because they're scared of what's new and they're out of touch.
Hot take. And so, Kate, on your end in the lifestyle space, what does it mean to influence?
I think having a platform is just amplification of taste, and I think that's how a lot of us start. We have a perspective on a space, whether it's lifestyle or things to do around the city or restaurants, and we're just sharing that. And in sharing, we're able to influence people to make decisions. And it's finding the person's taste who you agree with or align with, and that's when you start to follow someone. But I don't think you need a following to be an influencer at all. I think micro-influencing is amazing. I think telling a friend word of mouth that they should go to a hair salon is influencing. So there's small scale and large scale, but it's all a version of influence.
Totally. I like what you said too about it's the taste making of it all, because I think for, I don't want to say back in the day, but years ago you would turn to maybe a newspaper or a magazine or people on TV or celebrities to kind of be the guide for tastemakers, and now you have millions of tastemakers that are being taken seriously, and you can kind of, choose your own adventure in essence. I'm curious, all of you have had very different journeys as influencers and content creators. Was there a particular moment when you realized, oh my God, I have influence, like I'm moving the needle on something?
I could go first. Probably when Dunkin' Donuts opened a new location in Stowe, Massachusetts. For those that don't know, one of my very first big viral videos was I went to the town of Stowe after they lost both of their Dunkin' Donuts and interviewed people about what it's like to live in a Dunkin' desert. And as you could imagine, the people of the community were losing their minds. And everyone outside of New England was watching this like, are you kidding me? Like, those SNL sketches about New England and Massachusetts are real? Like, those people exist? Like, wow. And so it got so big that Dunkin' as a brand, this multi-billion-dollar corporation, actually responded and were working behind the scenes to reopen a new Dunkin' location in Stowe, which just happened earlier this year. So little things like that. Or like I did a story about a hot dog stand in Framingham where they have a program where you can pay for a stranger's meal, right? Pay an extra few bucks and someone can walk up and say, hey, I need a free meal. The guy got so many donations after my video went up that he had to stop taking donations. So little things like that. I'm like, oh my God, like this. I have a voice. This is cool.
Totally. And what about you, Kate?
I started my page as a freshman in college 10 years ago in January. Wow. And it was purely for fun. I just wanted a place to throw up my photography. And little by little, my sophomore year, I found that friends, classmates, even professors were commenting that they were inspired to go to Newport on a day trip or to try out that little restaurant down the street. And that was my aha, where I was like, oh my gosh, people are not only noticing what I'm doing, but they're actually using it as a recommendation and then going and following through and trying these places and having a positive experience. I am going to keep going. This is so cool.
Totally. And Brian, for you, I mean, obviously I want to know what was the moment you realized you would influence, but I think there's also a turning point when you realize, could this be a career? Could this be lucrative? Is this something that could turn into something bigger? What was that for you?
Ooh. Whoa. I think for me, the first brand deal I got with a huge budget really made me feel like all the work that I did when it came to trade collaborations for free really paid off. All the hard work, and to me it was just astounding to see such a large number, and that really made me really believe in my own personal vision and taste, like Kate said, and how it aligned with this company and how they saw how my taste, my eye, my perspective, my artistry can really help them with ads, especially with whitelisting, instead of hiring someone out, a videographer, they're like, let's hire Brian and let's really dive into him and pick his brain to making our vision come to life, and then really getting into writing scripts, writing B-roll. That really made me feel like, wow, as a videographer, as a photographer, I've made something out of this,
Totally. And Kate, I want to throw it over to you and maybe pull back the curtain a little bit on the money side of all of this, because I think, as a lot of you may know, being an influencer can be an incredibly lucrative career. There are people who can make anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to $50,000 for just a single post, kind of depending on metrics like their followers and engagement rate. Can you just help explain why businesses are choosing to invest in influencers, and a lot of cases pay them pretty handsomely over a TV commercial or a traditional medium. Like, what's really the difference in the ROI from your experience?
I think you were starting to hit on it right there, Emily. You have a decision as a marketing professional to put your marketing budget into something like a billboard or a radio ad. We love radio, but the other option is you could invest in a creator who has already built a loyal following, who has a community of people who they've cultivated, who trust what they say, and you put the money into them, and they're really a one-man band. It's all under one roof. We're the producers, the creators, the executive directors. We're doing it all. And so when you choose a creator to work with, you're investing in that style, but it's really all under one roof. And so it feels to me, and I try to explain this to brands all the time, that it's really a huge value to have our following and the audience that we've created on top of our style. It's just like an amazing package that you're getting that is very different from a traditional marketing avenue.
Totally. And I think a big piece of all of this too is the relatability, I know, is a really big piece of this. People are craving authenticity, relatability, which, you can unpack what do those things really mean, given that when we're posting online, we're posting a very curated highlight reel of things. But how has something like being authentic or relatable influenced the way that you present yourself online and the way that kind of you choose to tell stories? Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it for me, because when I started working as a news reporter, I didn't really have much of a journalism background. I had like a radio background, and so my personality was already such a big part of what I did. So I think in the journalism world, when you come out of journalism school, you learn to like kind of suck the personality out of yourself and focus solely on the story that you're telling. But in the social media world, you kind of have to have a little bit of a personality to stand out. And so I'm not afraid to kind of put myself in the story a little bit, just because it's not really changing the story at all. It's just I become like a recurring character in these stories, and people are familiar with me. They start to develop like a trust with me and want to see more of that. And so, I'm still telling these people's stories, but with my own voice and like having fun and doing it in a way that nobody else can replicate, because nobody else is me. And I think we all, and whether, you don't have to be a news reporter to do that too, but like what stands out on social media is when people bring themselves into it and show their most authentic selves, because it's way better to stand out than to blend in.
Totally, and I think you really hit the nail on the head there, because as a consumer of your content, part of the reason why I watch your videos is I obviously want to know the fun adventures you're going on and the cool stories you're telling. But I'm there for you. It works because of you.
You too, Emily.
Thank you.
I'm a big B-side fan, absolutely. And you're so funny with the way you tell stories too, so thank you for saying that.
No, but really, I think it's a testament to, especially other news organizations who are, do you lean into personality? Do you not lean into personality? I think it goes against the grain, like you were saying, a lot of what we're taught in journalism school of what's appropriate. And I think you found this kind of interesting gray space to occupy that you're also doing really well. That it's, I will say, this is a lot harder than it looks. As somebody who kind of operates in that space, and I think you all can speak to that, everyone will say, oh, everybody wants to be an influencer these days, but I think not everybody can be an influencer. Is that something that, you've seen in your experience, Brian?
Matt and I were having a conversation backstage about what really solidifies someone to be a creator. And I had this conversation with myself too, if I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I said yes. And with that came consistency and a vision of myself to stay true to who I am, but also evolve as I go. And I also realized that not everyone is capable of going through this. Everyone has the ability to really get into this industry. They just have to have a vision of themselves and be consistent to show up for the community that you're trying to build, because that's the one that's going to lift you up. But it's okay it doesn't work out too. So
Totally. Well, something I want to get into in all of this is transparency. Matt, I think you're a really interesting case here because you're this internet personality that tells these wacky local news stories, but at the end of the day, you're a reporter for WBZ. What's your own relationship with being kind of branded as an influencer, and has that evolved over time?
Yeah, I mean, this was a big discussion in the newsroom over whether or not we could kind of have me doing like sponsored content and stuff, because it's not something you really ever do. Like, when was the last time you've seen a news reporter start doing like sponsored stuff? Even like watching TV news, like it's just something you don't see because like there's a level of like journalism ethics where it's like you don't want to give off the impression that you're being paid to tell certain stories and it's going to influence your journalism. But we kind of broke it down and we're overthinking this a little bit. Like, I have this big audience on Instagram, my personal Instagram. I can just post to that as me. And as long as I'm not making it look like I'm trying to pass it off like a news story, there's not really a conflict of interest. If it's very clear that what I'm doing is sponsored content, then great.
As long as you label that.
As long as I label it and I'm not trying to trick people into thinking like you could just pay me for a story.
Totally. What's your take? I'm curious because, I've seen the Washington Post TikTok guy, Jave Jorgensen, who has since left the Washington Post to start his own venture. He recently took an ad, I believe it was with Harry's, and all of the comments were very supportive of it. And I think that was another case similar to yours of we're seeing somebody who is still wearing that journalism cap now entering that influencer brand deal space. Do you think newsrooms should be more open to working in that model? Yeah, why not? If the person that's going to be doing the ads is a personality and people care about them, then yeah, sure, why not? I just have this old school mentality though of like being fearful of selling out, right? Like, I don't know, I grew up in like the punk rock world and stuff, and the idea of taking money from like any business or corporation is like a whole huge no-no. And so I was terrified of that. Yeah. But I don't feel like I'm doing that now because one, I'm working with brands that I actually do care about. Like, I was just working with Emerson College, my alma mater. They're fantastic. Go Emerson. Go Lions. But so it's like, yeah, you can do that. And plus, the one thing I've noticed too, and I'm sure you both have noticed this as well, is like, younger audiences don't see it that way at all. They don't care. They're like, hey, Kate, get that bag. That's great. Brian, sweet. They're paying you for this. Awesome. Good for you. You deserve it. Totally. So the concept of selling out and doing that is just gone. And I will say, I do think that speaks to the relationship that you establish with your followers too. Like, they're rooting for you at the end of the day. And so I think that's what allows that encouragement for taking brand deals, get your bag, whatever. Kate and Brian, I'm also curious from your end, even though you both aren't in the news space, we all know for influencers, there's a lot of creators who, even I get DMs all the time, which I don't take, but it'll be a restaurant saying, hey, can you come in and we'll give you a free meal in exchange for you posting a video. There's no actual check being exchanged. There's no expectation that I'm going to be posting a paid partnership and labeling it. There's a lot of, especially in the food space, there are a lot of people who say this meal was the best thing I've ever had, and maybe it wasn't, but they say it because they got a free meal. How do you two maintain transparency in creating your own content and establishing that trust with your audience?
I can go first.
Yeah.
Back to how I started, I'm so committed to my page being all about my taste. So if there's a restaurant that might not align with my brand or I don't genuinely believe in, you won't ever see it on my platform, ever. And it's important to me that I maintain a really positive feeling on my socials. That's who I am as a person, and I want my personality to shine through, and I want my page to feel like a sunny, beautiful corner of the internet, given there's so much else out there that can bring you down. And so that said, if I ever do have an experience that doesn't meet what I would want to share with my audience, I'll give feedback directly to the brand or to the restaurant, but anything you see on my page is a genuine recommendation. And back to your point around authenticity, that's part of how I maintain that, because I would put my life behind any recommendation you see.
And what about you, Brian?
Similar to Kate's, so I am a queer person, I am a brown person, and so for me, those are two attributes that really play a huge aspect into the brand deals I take, the partners I take on, and even the restaurants I promote here in the city. I have gotten discriminated in person. I've had a lot of nasty messages too from certain restaurants, and for me, that was a huge learning curve of my existence here in the city and how much that really means to a lot of people who look like me and identify as me. So when a restaurant reaches out to me, I always make sure those are the top attributes that fit in within my brand, because a lot of the audience and my community of cuties that I've developed, they identify with me and they really value if they're gonna spend over $200 on a special occasion that they saved up for the whole entire year. They want to know it's really worth it, or this is the item they'll get. Plus, this is my personal experience of the bartender, and they really made me feel comfortable. So for me, those are the things that go into it. I have said no to a lot of restaurants lately, but I do my due diligence to reach out to brands that really align with my values. So yes, I do take on a few restaurant deals, but I always make sure that when I reach back to them, there are certain levels of expectations of service that needs to be for everyone, not just for me. I don't want to go in there and be treated as royalty. I want to be treated normally because I want everyone to feel the authenticity of the restaurant. Plus, I'm a tourist. I love a bougie experience. I love a good cocktail. I love taste, and so I really make sure those are the things that people are really going to invest their time with.
Totally, totally. And so we actually have a really great audience question that I want to ask you all, and then we only have a few minutes left, so we'll wrap it up. But how do you sustain all of your followings? How do you, evolve your content to keep followers engaged without feeling like your content is redundant or having to kind of lean into the influencer world? Like, what's the personal trade-off of growing in this space?
I do a weekly office hours every Sunday where I give my followers a chance to ask me questions, and I use that as an opportunity to get real-time feedback and understand what it is they're looking for. So by season, is it that they want festive holiday meal or that they need shopping gift recs? So I use that as a gauge to be like very on top of what it is my followers want. And then I always fall back on the reason I started, and that without trying to ever be an influencer, people flocked to what I was doing. And so I need to remember that and kind of like not look at the audience and just continue down the path of like, let me share things I love.
Yeah, for me, I try to not make the same video twice. I'm sure we all follow those creators who like had one viral moment and they just try to like capitalize on it for as long as possible by doing the same joke over and over and over again. And you might be able to grow a little bit in the beginning, but you're gonna see diminishing results. So always mixing it up and always like delivering. I don't wanna ever like just post for the sake of posting. I'll post if I have something worth posting.
Absolutely.
What was the question?
How do you evolve your content to keep your followers engaged without making something redundant?
Gotcha. Well, for me, I personally have been on a spiritual journey. And so for me, whatever personal stuff is going on with my life is authentically put out there. So if I go out to dinner with my parents, I take them out to dinner with my parents, and they're integrated into my content, and that's something that's been new, that's never happened before. I also do audits on myself to be like, you know what, maybe you shouldn't say that. But those are just behind the scenes stuff for me.
Totally. And I have one more question for you all. We just have a minute left. Influencing, I don't want to say is a saturated world, but there's a lot of people in it. There's a lot of desire to become an influencer, content creator, especially for young people. As more creators are joining these platforms, who do you think are going to be the next wave of influencers? What's going to be the next group of influencers that really rises up to the top and wields the most power? And if you could do it quickly, that would be great.
I'll go quick. The best thing is we don't get to decide. No one in this room does. It's the next generation of viewers and followers that are the tastemakers. You know, the age of people sitting around a boardroom saying, "Oh, this celebrity, this is who we're going to prop up." Those are like kind of over now because it doesn't matter. So, like, do I like the fact that my 5-year-old sits down and watches somebody playing Minecraft for an hour? No. But like to her, that's top tier entertainment.
Yeah.
And that person who's playing Minecraft is a huge influencer. So it's important that we don't push away from that and embrace it.
Totally.
I am expecting a huge shift to analog relatability. Even since we started 10 years ago, we've seen that people want less edited, less fake. We want to see the real thing. So I think just a continuation on that path towards the real thing.
And as someone who loves curation, I do see that relatability, authenticity, real reactions, those are the people and who I feel are really gonna blow up because I just don't want to see any more polishedness. I want to see real. And if you can be real, as most authentic as you can be, I feel like that's more honest, and I will follow for that.
I wish I had another 30 minutes with you all. Brian, Matt, Kate, thank you so much for joining me and joining us. Give these people a round of applause.